Hello BookTube, I'm Mike, and this is Riff Raff's Reading Renaissance. Well, they say all good things have to come to an end, and as you may know, I've been on vacation for a while, but I'm now back at work. So real life reappears and asserts itself, making it a little bit harder to prioritize reading, but we keep on trying. During the vacation, you will have seen I had a chance to reflect on 2025, do some planning for 2026 to try and make sure I fit as much reading into my life as I possibly can. And the other thing I needed to mark over that period was the milestone of achieving 500 subscribers. Now, I was totally overwhelmed, not only by that milestone, but by the kindness of Steve Donoghue, who offered to team up with me for a Q&A, which is always more fun if it's a two-hander. The response to that video, which is a long one, has been even more overwhelming. I'm simply flabbergasted. My subscriber count as of time of recording this is now 772. So something moved in the universe. I don't know quite what it is, but I'm very grateful. I'm grateful to Steve. I'm grateful to all of you who've taken the time to watch it and taken a bit of a punt on subscribing to my channel. I hope I don't let you down in 2026. Talking of which, I thought I should make a video. We're not at the end of January yet, but I thought I should make a video to sort of catch up with where I am and what's happening in my reading, lest you feel I've disappeared completely into the pressures of the real world. The number one project, as you probably know, is about reading the Iliad, all 24 books of it in 24 days. Now, some fast readers may scoff and say it's an afternoon's work, but for those of us who aren't blessed with fast reading, I've always found that it's important with big books to plan for bite-sized chunks that you really realistically will be able to maintain so that you don't lose momentum on the project. Anyway, I decided I would read the Iliad, 24 books over 24 days, and I would keep a daily vlog, just simply making asides to the camera as I went through the book, capturing the thoughts and the impact that it had on me as I went. Once again, Steve very kindly offered to have some chats with me along the way, which we've done. And I am right on track. We're not at the end of the 24 days of January when I record this, but I'm right on track and very excited about how the project is going. So if you were excited by that and you're reading along, please keep up. Please do read your one book a day. Each book's about 20 pages on average. It's not that difficult to fit in. And boy, it is an exciting experience. I won't go into it now because there'll be a whole video on that, but I really do think you can divide the world into life before reading the Iliad and life after reading the Iliad. So if that's an indication that I think it's worth reading, indeed it is. So there we go. Here's the book, big book. You can see all the notations going on in it. So it's very much a living project, a work in progress. And I'm terribly, terribly excited to get to day 24 and then be able to turn it around into a video to share with you the whole journey, the reading, the vlog, the discussion with Steve, the whole thing. And I do hope it's going to be as much fun for you as the fun I've had along the way. A very rewarding reading experience. So that was Project 1 on the go in January. Project 2, which is a much bigger and maybe even more daunting project, is the one I've announced called Read the Beloved Country, where as one of the relatively few booktubers from South Africa, I thought it was very important to cover in my channel the richness of the literature of South Africa. That's a big statement to make, and I don't know that I'm in any way qualified to talk about it. I have no background in literature or any of those sort of things, just a love of reading and an incredibly powerful love of this country. Much like the title of the book, Cry the Beloved Country, this is a unique place on the planet. There's an old joke which you've probably heard about when God making the world and St. Peter looking over his shoulder and saying, why are you giving this one country such beautiful weather, such beautiful scenery, beautiful beaches, beautiful mountains, beautiful flora, fauna, even precious minerals? What's going on here? This seems very unfair. And God says to St. Peter, but you haven't seen the governments I'm going to give it. So this is a country that has bounced back and forward from one travail, one trial after another, constantly going right to the brink and pulling back. But it's still here, it's still going strong. And the people who have lived here and felt the ancient dust of Africa settling in their heart will not wonder why people who are fond of this country are very fond of it. And consequently, if I'm going to read the literature of the country, what better title than Read the Beloved Country? But having said that, I need to make some progress. So I have indeed made some progress. I've started reading, not completed, but underway, André Brink's book called Looking on Darkness. Now, this book has the honor of being the very first book that was banned under the South African apartheid government's censorship rules. André Brink is an extremely well-known and very respected author. This book was first published in the early 1970s in Afrikaans under the name Kennis van die Aand, which literally translated from Afrikaans means knowledge of the evening. But I think the title Looking on Darkness is much more apt in the English language. It's not an easy read. Brink is well known for his writing style, which is unflinching and brutal where it has to be. Telling disconsolate stories of people oppressed by every aspect of their life, generation after generation after generation. It's darkness indeed, but the writing is powerful. And of course, part of my reading Renaissance journey is to find powerful writing that moves me. It does not always have to be a happy story. I think that's naive to expect that, particularly in this country, which has some dark parts to its history. So, a very rewarding read so far. I'm not done yet, but I have high hopes for the rest of the book. But it's heavy going. And as a relief from the darkness, I reach for my sort of bedside read, which is the biography that Ben Elton has issued called What Have I Done? This is just a joy from start to finish. It's a laugh a minute. Those who don't know Ben Elton, if you Wikipedia him or Google him or whatever, you'll find things like Blackadder, Mr. Bean, Upstart Crow, the William Shakespeare sitcom. The talent of this man and his importance to the journey of British humour and British television and British playwriting is vast. I mean, if I look at the back cover, there are praises out by Dawn French, Richard Curtis, Joe Brand, Jimmy Carr, Brian May from Queen, Kenneth Branagh, David Mitchell, and Stephen Fry. Those are the people singing Ben Elton's praise, and it doesn't come much higher than that when it's about the British entertainment industry. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I've got a long way to go. It's a big book, but that's just a bedside read when I'm tired and just looking for a bit of fun. And boy, is he delivering! It's a laugh a minute. It's fantastic. I would strongly recommend it to anyone who has found out who Ben Elton is and wants to understand his life a little bit more. Then, on my 2026 spreadsheet, which caused a bit of a stir, I understand, but the planning schedule also talked about reading a selection of short stories from very many different authors in order to quickly try and get a feel of their different writing styles. Now, I haven't promised to read the whole of each short story collection because I need to be realistic about my time. But what I have said is for each month, I've determined a particular author and a particular collection of short stories from which I'm going to at least read one short story. And the first one for January is Kazuo Ishiguro's short story collection called Nocturnes, which was recommended to me by Angelina at Books Do Things to Me. And I'm going to be forever grateful for that because it's an absolute joy. I have read the first short story in here. The theme of the stories are all linked, and they're linked by the concept of nighttime and music. So someone like me, who is a musician and has spent many a nighttime playing music to varying degrees of audience, from ecstatic to completely non-aligned, this is a theme that I couldn't possibly ignore. And I've read the first story in here, which is called Crooner. And it's about an aged singer, a well-known singer who's a little bit past his fame, in Venice for a very special event. But the story is told by a local musician who plies his trade playing as a musician in Venice, although he's in fact a refugee from an unnamed war-torn country. And boy, It's a 30-page story, so a short story. It packs a lot of layers into that 30-page story. Absolutely excellent. I would strongly recommend this collection just based on the first short story. I have enormous faith going forward, but then I say that because the combined themes of nighttime and music, you know, you had me at the beginning. But then the writing of Ishiguro is as good as everybody tells you from having read Remains of the Day. It's absolutely lovely, nuanced, and characters that you feel, and issues in the story that stay with you long after you've actually finished the short story itself. So, another read during my month. My original schedule talked about the big chunkers I had to tackle, which is obviously the Iliad, and it's got those issues of South Africa and short stories, etc. But there's also a space in the schedule for short books or medium-sized books to fit in as well. And in January, the target was J.L. Carr's A Month in the Country. And in fact, I have read this. It's a very short book. It is barely over 100 pages, and that's why I thought it would be able to fit that in the same month as the Iliad. And indeed I have. It's a beautiful book. Everybody says so. I think this is a book a little bit like 84 Charing Cross Road, not in the story, but in the fact that people just love it. People all feel it has a special place in their heart, and it's the kind of book you might want to reread. It's about a protagonist, Tom Birkin, who returns from World War I, having suffered horrendous unnamed horrors in World War I. We know that he has a disfigurement to his face, but we're not told exactly how it happened. And he survives World War I and returns, in this case, to what they consider normality. He gets a commission to restore a medieval painting, because that's the skill he has in his day job when he's not soldiering in World War I. He visits a village called Oxgodby, which is a tiny little village. I think it's beautifully captured on this cover. I did a video a little while back about my favorite covers, and there were 3 alternative covers for this book, and I literally judged a book by its cover and bought this copy rather than the other copies, because I felt this picture on the cover already sets the scene for what Oxgodby is like. And in fact, having read the book, this was confirmed to me. It's got lots of small village characters which make you smile. It's got some people you don't feel very fondly towards, which I'm sure is true of most villages around the world. But it's also got some characters who are just struggling to get by and carrying baggage, and you find yourself hoping that things are going to turn for them, and you find yourself hoping that they will come right and they will maybe just take that step. And of course, I'm not going to spoil the story for you, but by reading the story, you find what those challenges are, you feel, you relate to the characters, and you find out, of course, what does and does not take place. Honestly, this book is a little bit of balm to sort of treat the violence you're feeling from Troy as you read the Iliad. Don't let me put you off the Iliad. It's one of the most impactful reads I think I've ever had. But of course, its subject matter is not gentle. So if you need a little bit of a treat, if you need complete relief, you've got Ben Elton. if you need a little bit of quiet balm, you've got either The Month in the Country or Ishiguro's Nocturnes with their music and night themes, which are a little bit more calming for the soul. The other thing that happened in January on BookTube is that we heard about the sad passing of Shawn the Standfast. Now, I'm not a science fiction reader. I don't prioritize science fiction at all in my channel, and I'm therefore not really a regular watcher of Shawn's channel. But when I heard the news, and I was particularly struck by the impact it had on BookTube and the corner of BookTube that I relate and am very, very fond of, I went to his back catalogue and I had a thorough look at it, and I found a lot of firm BookTube favorites. I found Steve, I found Hannah, I found Mark from Book Time with Elvis, and many, many more. Alan, it goes on, and I realized the big personality that Shawn actually was in the BookTube community with his Desert Island Books series, etc. I was entirely taken by his knowledge, his humor, and his love of stories. Not to mention the astounding AI creations he started creating more recently. And I would urge you to check out in his channel the one about Three Men in a Boat, which is particularly poignant because Mark at Book Time with Elvis was a very close friend of Shawn's, I understand. And the three and the men in a boat, it's very clear that one of the men in the boat is Mark, and the dog that's with them in the boat is very clearly Elvis. But if you simply watch that video and where it goes, it captures the vastness of Shawn's imagination, the creativity, and of course the newfound AI skills. And given that in his real life Shawn was somewhat restricted due to health issues, watching this video where his imagination and his mind are untrammeled and just run riot brought me a lot of joy. And I realized clearly I'd missed out. I had missed out, and I wanted to take part in the event that has been created in memory of Shawn. It's called Standfast, and a nod to Roy Reed's Anything for coming up with a brilliant name for the event. It's a simple event. They talk about just reading anything by Shawn's favorite author, which was Clifford D. Simak. Now, I have to say, I'd never heard of Clifford D. Simak because, again, I'm not a science fiction reader. But I thought, let me do something. I was so struck by Shawn and the impact he had on the booktubers I care very much about that I thought, let me do this little bit and go and read a Simak story. Why not? So I reached for the Wesleyan Anthology of Science Fiction, and here under the heading of BookTube made me do it. I can blame this on Gareth, because Gareth at Books, Songs and Other Magic sung the praises of this anthology as the go-to anthology if you don't have science fiction, and that was me. So I thought, fine, let me get a book of science fiction, the best of science fiction, and that will see me right. So I consulted this book with an eye to finding a Clifford D. Simak story. And indeed, I did find one. They have one Simak story in here. It's called Desertion, and it's from 1944. It's one of the stories, I understand, from City, which is one of his best-known novel collections. And I believe that City was one of Shawn's favorite Simak novels. So it seemed a good choice to read. It's 11 pages long, so even a slow reader like me can fit that into his January reading plan. But boy, it's a great story. Without spoilers, it's about a mission controller who ponders the risk of sending more and more humans out through a complex process to explore the planet of Jupiter, which is not human friendly. 4 have gone so far and none have returned. So this obviously creates a bit of a moral quandary for the controller. It's a splendid concept. It's compellingly written. And there's a dog in the story. So if that appeals, I recommend strongly, if you want to read a Simak story, if you want to be part of the Standfast event to honor Shawn, you can't do better than reading this short story called Desertion. It was wonderful. I liked it so much that I actually went online to look for more Simak stories, and I found a great second-hand book with the greatest of his short stories in it. So that's on the way, and we'll see where that goes. And I would say to my subscribers, some of whom have praised the fact that this channel isn't devoted to science fiction, because I know science fiction can be a little bit divisive among readers. This is not a Road to Damascus experience. I'm not going to turn and morph this channel into a sci-fi channel. There's too much good reading out there, and I've always said the real world we live in is fascinating enough for me. But I thought the Standfast idea of reading a short story every quarter in honor of Shawn sounded just about the perfect amount of toe dipping for me to test out the waters. And if Shawn recommended Clifford D. Simak as among the best there is, then that had an appeal to me. So I've ordered a book of Simak stories, and we'll see how we go with that. And that's all, guys. I just wanted to give you that update because I know there's a lot of projects in the go, and people may be saying, where are we? Where do we got to that? Particularly the Iliad project. I know there's several subscribers who've expressed excitement and interest in wanting to read along and keep up. Please don't give up. It is coming. We're nearer the end than the beginning, if I put it that way. You can count the number of days, because I started on January the 1st and I said I would finish reading the book on January the 24th, and I'm still on track for that. Obviously, I'll need a day or so just to knock in shape the editing process to get it all ready for BookTube, but I hope that's going to be a lot of fun. So please stay tuned, and in any event, please keep reading. If you've liked this and my other efforts on BookTube, please consider liking and subscribing and even annotating so that bell rings when I put something out. Despite what some people say, I think it makes a big difference to the workings of the algorithm, which spreads me around the BookTube community. And in any event, I hope you continue to enjoy the stuff that I create. So thank you very much, BookTube, and bye-bye now.